Lewis Travis to Derby County. All the rumours are pointing in that direction, and with Valérien Ismaël saying that it's likely Rovers lose a key player before the end of the transfer window, those rumours have just skyrocketed yet again for the Derby County fans. And after yesterday's performance versus Stoke City, it certainly is a position that Derby County need to strengthen. Now obviously headed into the final few weeks of this transfer window and obviously the start of the EFL Championship season, midfield is a position where Derby County need an extra body that can certainly play as a technical midfielder, and Lewis Travis certainly fits that mould. And Valérien Ismaël, although didn't confirm Lewis Travis may be the player heading out, he confirmed that players with 1 year left on their contract could be finding their way onto pastures new, even if that wasn't what he wanted. And obviously this is huge news for Derby County. It has been rumoured across the course of the last few days that Derby County have agreed personal terms with Lewis Travis. Although there's no concrete links at the moment, I feel that is just a few days away. Now obviously if you have not done so already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. We will be live on Tuesday evening going through the West Bromwich Albion game with a live watch along yet again for you guys to join along with. So if you have not done so already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments. But should we get into it? Now obviously for Derby County, I'm not going to say that midfield is an area where we need extra bodies, because we have a lot of players who can play that role, but do we need more quality bodies in that role? In my opinion, absolutely yes. You look at the team which started yesterday up against Stoke City with obviously Liam Thompson, Kenzo Halbmine and Ibu Adams as that midfield three, and I just felt in those pivot positions Derby County just lacked a little bit of bite and a little bit of going forwards essentially, because even though you're playing Kenzo that little bit deeper to get him on the ball and to make him have that opportunity to create chances, I just felt as if he just didn't have that other side of the game that you really need. And I felt like as much as Liam Thompson is a workhorse, is going to rat about, is going to kick you in the shins, I just don't necessarily think he has the quality that we need in a position going forwards. Now, obviously a lot of people are going to talk about Ibu Adams playing in that number 10 role, but obviously if you bring in a Lewis Travis, there's a situation where Ibu Adams doesn't even make Derby County's starting 11, especially with the introduction of players like Bobby Clark and Andreas Weimann, who are going to play in that role behind the striker. I think there's very much an opportunity here for Derby County to sort of move away from that sort of hoofball, run type football, which we've been known to play across the course of the last few years under that of Paul Warne, and obviously now heading into the John Eustace era. But that obviously takes time to have those players arrive at the club to be able to play that style of football, and it is going to take patience. And we saw that yesterday with what was a fairly abject performance, not a lot of attacking prowess from Derby County. Obviously scored realistically one of our only chances of the game, which came from Corey Blackett-Taylor strutting his stuff and Carlton Morris showing exactly why Derby County have spent the money on him. But it's one of those for me where I felt like the major problem was having that lack of control in midfield, and I think that comes from not having a proper sort of dictator on the pitch. Now, I love Kenzo. I think he's a brilliant player. I think he's got a lot of ability in there. I just feel as if he needs someone better next to him. And I'm not saying that as a slight on Liam Thompson. I just think that Liam Thompson and Kenzo shouldn't both play in those pivot roles. One, they're both really small, and two, neither of them are really defensive midfielders. Both of them are very sort of forward-thinking midfielders, and sort of either, like Liam Thompson for me is a box-to-box workhorse, whereas Kenzo Halbmine is more of that get the ball and go forwards type player. And to be able to do that, you need someone next to you that can dictate, that can control the play. And obviously that could be David Ozo, but it also could end up being Lewis Travis. And there's also a world where Derby County's midfield by the end of this season ends up being Lewis Travis, David Ozo and Bobby Clark. And it'll be very, very interesting to see how that develops over the course of the next few weeks. Now, obviously, in regards to Lewis Travis and the link that's been going on over the course of essentially the last couple of months, it's been one which has been spoken about a lot since John Eustace joined Derby County. And ultimately for me, I don't necessarily disagree with the link. I don't necessarily think it's a link that Derby County should be sort of shying away from and things like that. And it's obviously something which the likes of Radio Derby have picked up on over the course of the last couple of weeks. And although there's been no sort of official inquiry or official bid, I think it certainly has to be a player that Derby County are looking at, because John Eustace knows him inside and out. Obviously the captain at Blackburn Rovers, and a player who can have a massive impact for any club in the Championship. I believe he's 27 years old with bags and bags of experience at this level, and can certainly play in that role just ahead of the back four, dictating the play sideways, make those forward passes as well, making sure that the ball keeps ticking, because that's what I felt Derby County were losing yesterday. If we didn't have a pass on, we just hoofed it up the pitch, and I just don't necessarily think that's the way that Derby County or John Eustace want to go going forward, and I think that's shown in the signings that have been made. Now, obviously, in that regard, Lewis Travis did start yesterday for Blackburn Rovers and did play, I believe it was about 80 minutes for Blackburn, as they went on to lose 1-0 up against West Bromwich Albion. But he is one of those players who I think at this level can certainly compete and certainly do a job. And with obviously the midfield position being something where Derby County are lacking a little bit of quality, it's absolutely something I am not against. Now, is the midfield position a priority for me? I don't believe so. I think midfield is something that it would obviously be nice for Derby County to get something done and add someone of the quality of Lewis Travis with a little bit of extra leadership skills. But do I think it's one we need? Realistically, I think the answer's no. If you look at the likes of David Ozo, the likes of Ebo Adams, Kenzo Helpmine, Bobby Clark, obviously Andy Vyman in that 10 role, I don't necessarily think Derby County need extra bodies in that position. But I do think that Derby County could potentially need extra quality there, which would obviously see one of the other bodies move out. But obviously we're going to have to sort of wait and see how that shakes out under John Eustace during the rest of this transfer window, as we obviously have less than a month to go now in the summer transfer window, which is, it's mad to think really. It's been a very, very intriguing and very, very different window for Derby to one that I was expecting. We've spent a fair ton of change, and we're sort of moving into that direction of sort of becoming one of those teams that is able to build themselves and able to push themselves forward. And given the statement that we got from David Clowes on the opening night of the season, I think we're in a very, very good position moving forward. And I think that in no time at all, Derby County will be having that takeover, will be having that significant investment, which we're sort of expecting over the course of the next 12 months. Will that be something which helps get Lewis Travis through the door? I'm not entirely sure. I think that deal could be long done by then. But will we be seeing Lewis Travis in a Derby County shirt? I don't think it's a priority, but I do think it will happen, if I'm completely honest. Now, obviously, you can let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. There's obviously a lot of things that can happen from now until the end of the transfer window, let alone before the end of this upcoming week. Obviously, Derby County face up against West Bromwich Albion on Tuesday night. There will be a match preview out tomorrow morning, so if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. And I'll catch you live on Tuesday night for the Derby County versus West Bromwich Albion watch along, and let's see what is going to happen with Derby County versus West Brom.